Hello and welcome to Cinema Subculture, where we discuss everything strange, obscure and downright messed up in the world of movies. My name's Gary.
And I'm Simon. So Gary, what film brings us here this evening?
Mausoleum, a 1983 horror film directed by Michael Dugan. Susan Walker, played by Bobby Brizet, falls victim to a family curse of demonic possession. When she turns 30, the curse takes hold, causing her to attack and murder everyone around her. Susan's psychologist, Dr. Andrews, discovers she is possessed and tries to break the curse with a crown of thorns from the family mausoleum.
So Gary, 1983, that's a good year, eh?
It's a good year for the podcast.
Brought you such things as Simon and Gary. So I'm right in saying this was pretty much a kind of blind watch for us both. Neither of us
hadn't seen it before. No. I was aware of it from the Section 3 video nasties list. It turned up on there.
Got you. So that's how you kind of selected it, I guess.
Yeah.
So just kind of like one you fancied the sound of, or was it the synopsis that gave you the?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it wasn't exactly what I was expecting in the end. I thought it was going to be a fun kind of schlocky direct-to-video 80s horror, and there was elements of that in there. But it was a very strange little movie. A lot of weird, unusual elements mixed together that didn't really fit together. But it was almost like the sort of director was a wee bit asleep at the wheel here. I don't really understand the vision of the movie.
Yeah, I've got to agree. It's a weird one. It feels. I don't know the director's background, but it's an American film, right? But it felt very like European, but like kind of like a knockoff of some of the ideas, like maybe the Argento stuff, demons type stuff, or the Fulci stuff. It just didn't have enough weirdness maybe in it to kind of pull that off, if that makes sense. And yeah, it felt quite like half-assed in bits. That it kind of, I think, I don't know. Like there were times when I was really encaptured by it in places for a few scenes, and I was like, oh right, okay, cool, what's happening here? But yeah, it's a weird one, eh? Like I wasn't quite expecting. I don't really know of all the films we've watched, and it's particularly the ones we've watched on the on the nasties list or been in that conversation. I don't know where this fits in my head. Like it feels like. I think it feels like it's the sexual element maybe of it that's been the most the controversial thing for that time period. But I mean, of course, there is the demon with other demons as faces to the breasts of the demon, which I was like, holy shit, that I haven't seen that before. That's pretty cool. But yeah, a weird one, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking online. There's not a lot of sort of background, like production history to online about it. It seems to be a shady production past. It was produced partly by mob mafia money.
Right,
I think.
Really? Okay.
But it feels like sort of rip-off elements of The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. It feels like sort of cashing in on that kind of stuff.
Also, maybe a little bit Evil Dead, kind of.
Evil Dead, yeah. The gore effects and the demon design, yeah, for sure. But then you've got those 80s, kind of late 70s, 80s elements as well. But weirdly, a lot of the film plays maybe with a vibe of something more traditional. Like I was getting a lot of Hitchcock overtones. In the sense of sort of some of the characters, and I think the production design and the costume design actually gives it a look that's quite high end that you wouldn't maybe associate with a exploitation film. because like characters like the mother-in-law, she felt like a character out of a Hitchcock film to me. It's not necessarily an 80s character. And the Dr. Andrews psychologist character gave it a bit of a kind of mystery feel that was something maybe you would associate with 50s or 60s films. So it had that traditionalist element to it. The score as well reminded me of Bernard Herrmann. It had quite a lush orchestral score, not a kind of maybe not something synthy that you would traditionally associate with 80s horror. So those elements sort of situated within that type of horror film. But then you had the gore, which was quite extreme, and the sex, and the demon design, as you said, the Evil Dead kind of vibes as well. So yeah, a weird mixing pot of elements.
And a really like, I don't know, like, not confusing but kind of surreal, what's happening here type conclusion to the film, like in the climax, like, and then the actual final shot that's like kind of goes on a wee bit longer than it probably needs to. You're like, I get it, dude, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, you know, I mean, let's maybe move on to the plot a little bit deeper,
Sure.
if that's all right. So like, when I read the synopsis of this, which I think I read, was basically like, a 10-year-old girl is possessed by a demon following the death of her mother. It was the kind of synopsis I read. That was the gist of it. And really, so I was really surprised after, like, you know, a couple of minutes of the film when it skips forward and suddenly this 10-year-old girl is 30 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so that took me by surprise. I thought it was going to be maybe more of an Exorcist-esque,
Right.
you know, rip off, I guess, or you know, a cheapo version. But so then we get, and it seems like, you know, in your synopsis you gave, like, it kind of gives like the idea that it takes hold when she's 30, but we get the impression from the plot that every year around the anniversary of her mother's death, she kind of gets a little bit weird.
Yeah.
As like, are we meant to believe these murders have been happening, like, you know, all these years?
I think, am I right in saying the mother was possessed as well? I believe.
Yeah, that's what's implied by the aunt. But yeah, so I don't know. So where it goes from there, I guess it's like the aunt still seems to think there's something going on, and then slowly we see the kind of the demon taking hold. And I really was like, kind of initially I was like, you were talking about special effects, and there is, you know, I think there's some cool special effects in this, as it goes on, or interesting ones at least. But initially I was really like, is that it? Is all we're getting glowing green eyes?
The green eyes were pretty poor, to be honest. Yeah,
I really was like, wow, this is cheap. This is like, you know, I really. So that when we actually started seeing some kind of a transformation stuff, and, you know, and some cool like special effects makeup, I was like, oh, thank goodness, like, you know, like, I really just did think it was going to be the eyes thing. But yeah, as for plot, I mean, it's really basic, and, you know, you get kind of like standard, like, cliches, like the husband saying, like, you know, once the deal comes in and I get the papers signed, we'll be able to go away and get away from it all. You know, it was really like, and she's like, I know, that's fine, dear. It's like, you know, it was really, I don't know, ho hum, I don't know.
Basically, the film, the main bulk of the story is Susan Walker character in the house all day, while her husband goes out to work early and doesn't come back till late. So she's just wandering about the house, bored. So
I mean,
why not start wealthy, killing people?
Right? So it's like it's you know, it's like the rich housewife kind of thing, stereotype, right? Walking around in her lingerie, like doesn't wear regular clothes. Even when they're going out, she wears something pretty revealing. But until that point, she pretty much just doesn't wear regular clothes. Doesn't need to, you know what I mean? How else is she supposed to keep the gardener man interested? You know, that guy was creeping me out, man. Way before the eventual kind of ending and stuff. I was like, what's he doing? Like again, that made it feel quite European in ways, but the way he was kind of at the door, like looking to you know, it's really, and it felt almost like,
right, okay,
like 50s horror, you know, like if it was in black and white and we were getting some like the Igor character or something like that, like, you know, kind of peering through the door, it kind
Okay.
of would have made sense. But
Yeah, Ben the Gardener was one of the highlights for me, I think, um, because that his initial entry into the film is so surreal.
yeah,
That's what I kind of liked about the first part of the film. Like the first 30 minutes are a fun ride, and
mhm.
it does feel like no one really knows where this is going. No one really has any ideas. And that when Ben turns up, they're just like, right, you just go up to the patio doors and stare through
Creepy
for
as
about
fuck.
5 minutes. Yeah, just keep
um,
staring maniacally.
but
But that was actually a really weird moment. That was a good bit of fun.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it was weird, and like we get another character that is in the same vein as, and it's weird until I started talking about it. There, I'd kind of in my head I had pictured the second character as the only kind of out of tone, shall we say, character, and that's Elsie the maid. Um,
Yeah,
like, but when as soon as you said Ben and we were talking about him, like, oh yeah, no, he's totally in tone with her. Like they're in a different film. They're in their own like kind of film. I mean that scene, I can't remember the exact line, but when she goes to go to the bedroom and she's like basically there's some weird shit happening in this house. Like I was like, oh cool, like somebody's actually talking like a person. That's kind of like, you know, she seemed like an actual character. And then like when she goes and gets our drink on, and then she says to like, but every time she goes down the stairs and they're playing like kind of weird, like Three Stooges music
yeah,
or something.
yeah,
Just really kind of weird and out of place in the film almost it feels, but quite a lot of fun as I
mm.
say. When she leaves, it's kind of like, oh, you know, we'd already lost Ben by that point, so we're back to just the boring folk, you know.
Yeah. But
Um,
definitely that kind of comic input of that character adds to the weird kind of tonal shifts of the film, just going everywhere, all over the shop. I also remember the levitation scene, which is quite ropey. It also gave it a feel of like a kind of PG horror type feel.
mm,
Um, all strangely contrasted against the more gory scenes, which is quite odd.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that in like you know some of the special effects like when she's first trying to freak out Ben or like do, I don't know what she was trying to do with him, to be honest with you. I thought she was going to blow up his head or something like we'd already seen, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's just the doors rattling, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just like yeah. And even like there's a bit where like she's up in the balcony, like taking her clothes off, and then she sets her wine glass down, and we hear the kind of like, the high pitched whine, and then the glass. You know, any other film, you feel like that glass would just shatter into a million pieces, and this is just like cracks a wee bit,
yeah,
crack. You know, it's just like, oh, okay. It's a little underwhelming, but okay, you know. But uh, but yeah, it really does like make you wonder what they were going for, like tone wise, as I say, from the kind of extremes of kind of comic relief to something that feels like it's going. I mean, there was some cool like the bit where the husband is having like this kind of montage flash of images.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's some actual quite creepy, I thought, imagery of Susan in like where she seems possessed and it's kind of silent. Almost felt like something from Twin Peaks or
Okay,
something, right? It's, you know, and so that was kind of happening, and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool imagery. But like then when we actually see her possessed, it's like, oh, okay, you know, it feels like something out like you ever seen what is it, Ernest Scared Stupid?
right,
You know the
okay,
Ernest
right.
films, no?
I know
You ever
what you
seen like
mean,
there's
but
one
I don't think
that
I've seen any of them.
yeah, there's one like it's a Halloween one, and there's a bunch of these trolls, and that's what it kind of looked like to me, was one of these kind of trolls. Um, so that was like, you know, because it was a shame, because I think they could have done something pretty creepy with the look they had going on in some of those
Mm-hmm.
flashes, for the possession. And yeah, the doctor's a useless fuck, isn't
Mm.
he? Like what a waste of space that guy is.
Well,
Like,
I mean, he
like,
solves the
like
mystery.
oh, sure, right, okay, okay. Well, let's get to that in a second. But like, so he gets the book from the aunt, right? And then the next time we see him, pretty much, he's getting the book from his shelf, which is, it looks like it's been there for a while. So he just sat this book on the shelf, like quite high, in amongst the rest of his books, and then decides to have a wee look at it. You know what I mean? He's like, I don't need to read that. She was quite keen on me to read it, but I don't need you know, it's like, I fair love that, Susan. Yeah. No, she's like a second daughter to me, or a first daughter. But I'm not going to read this book that our aunt like really wanted me to read, to, you know, in case she was something to do with her being ill. But yeah, like, so when we get to the I'm skipping forward and back a little bit here. So we get the crown of thorns. So he goes and retrieves that from the mausoleum. I don't think I quite picked up that was the mausoleum was meant to be the family mausoleum.
Right, yeah.
Right, but so he gets the crown of thorns, and he puts it on Susan once he finds her, and she morphs into the troll, with the faces for boobs, and then back into Susan. And meanwhile, that's kind of like, you know, superimposed with the demon going back into the mausoleum with the crown on. And to me, I was like, okay, cool. So he's beat the demon, and that's it. Firing back into the mausoleum. We're cool.
Yeah.
Game over, right? Like, so then I see him like driving up, and like, because it's very clear that nomad women should go into the mausoleum. So just after he's freed her from possession, he's like, let's get back in. You know what I mean? Takes her back into the mausoleum.
Right, okay.
And I just got the logic. I got it by the end because he's, you have to do it. But it felt pretty risky, like, to go like just after she was freed from possession to go back into the mausoleum, presumably where the demon is at its most powerful.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doctor's a useless bugger.
But he does do his due diligence at the end when he warns the mausoleum master, don't let anyone back in there.
He's a good dude as well, isn't he? He's a cracker. I mean, like, when he first went to him, I'm like, who's this guy talking to? Like, and I'm like, all right, okay, right, I get it from the book, and it's kind of, you know, it's when he said your father, and I'm like, okay, right, and then we see that's our friend Ben that we've already seen murdered.
Crazy.
Who's that?
Crazy reveal.
I know, and he laughs right at the camera as well. Looks at me. Looked right at me, guy. Did he look at you?
He did. Yeah, it's creepy.
Chilling.
Indeed.
Until, as to say, you know, a couple of seconds in, and then it was like, right, I get it. Stop laughing. Like, come on.
Yeah, I wonder if on set they had like, oh my god, I know the craziest ending we can do. Like, make it Ben. Crazy twist at the end. Actually, Ben the gardener was in on it all along. But yeah, I think the major problem with the film as it progresses is, I think, weak direction and kind of weak script, because to me it got a bit tedious by the third act. We knew what was going to happen. We knew that Dr. Andrews had to sort of solve the mystery and exorcise the demon, so to speak, but it just went on forever. It seemed like that kind of confrontation scene between Andrews and Susan was like, right, we get it, like, kind of up the pace here a bit.
And like, it's like that corridor between the top of the stairs and the bedroom. I think that must be like 3 mile long, because nobody seemed to be able to get across it like in any like good fashion, good time. You know,
was it? I can't remember how long it was now. 1:36.
It's about an hour and 36 or something like that. It did
15 minutes off the running time, I think.
Honestly, I was about 40-50 minutes into it. Now, I wasn't like, it's almost at the end, but I thought I must be like, you know, 15 minutes out, because we're getting there now. And it was like 40 minutes into it. I was like, what's going on? It wasn't like I was annoyed at it or anything. I was just like, it just was taking its time, wasn't it? It was just, I mean, again, like, if she's been possessed for 20 years, what's it been doing?
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah, there was some cool special effects in there, and you know, the bit at the beginning with the guy's head blowing up and stuff, and we see that again with the and like the chest bursting and stuff like that. There was some cool stuff there. It was actually, I don't know if he did it. He was part of the team, but there's a guy called John Carl Beekler, who is on the special effects team, who went on to like do special effects for like, Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Right,
He
okay.
directed one of the Friday the 13th films as well, and a bunch of other things. So he's quite prolific. He actually passed away in 2019. But yeah, so that was kind of cool to see, because this is kind of one of the earlier films. And I feel like it's been mentioned as one of the, when they've been doing I've been watching like a Friday the 13th documentary or something like that. They've mentioned that some of the people who'd worked with him on this or whatever, and that this is where they'd seen him. So yeah, as I say, some of that still holds up, as I say, but it's just a bit all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a kind of fun watch.
Yeah.
For one time, but it has potential to be like that first section is like really enjoyable. Like it has potential to be a fun party movie, but kind of as it goes on, it's like, right, okay, it becomes a wee bit kind of by the numbers.
I was just going to say, like, that because you're talking about, like, even at its short length, it felt long, right? And I was just thinking to myself, what was the real purpose of the going dancing scene? Because it felt like they just got there and then they had to leave, right? Like, because he had to go and get his client. But then off the back of that, we get that first kind of scene with her giving the evil eyes to the car and the fire starting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I suppose, but I don't know. That could have been just as well achieved with the Ben scene, I think.
Kinda. Although that's one of my favourite scenes in it. That nightclub scene.
I didn't hate it, but like, I just what was it? What was it trying to achieve in the story? Like, I think it was fun. It was like as soon as they go in and the woman goes to the drunken guy at the bar, like who what you look at. I felt like I was in an episode of Seinfeld. You know that way? Like, it really was. It was good.
That guy was great. The drunken beardy man.
Yeah, the way he like staggers into them at the doors are coming out. Oh, Jesus. And the husband's like having apparently not seen this, like him trying to come on to his wife and them not seeming to have a conversation about it was so like aggro with him, like he was like, this guy touched me. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it. I just like you just wonder what it was trying to do necessarily. I feel like they could maybe have done something similar, but they just wanted them doing some disco dancing. That's what it was.
It kind of seems like no, they were just trying to cash in on a number of different styles and genres. Yeah. But it's some fun moments for sure.
Definitely, it's that the demons, comparison is quite apt because again, it feels like it's a cool premise, cool ideas, and it started off, on a decent trajectory, but like, it just felt like it kind of run out of steam, whereas this just felt like it had too many ideas that we were trying to fit in, as you say, and didn't really do anything with any of them. But the fact, knowing that it's potentially a money laundering scam, then for the mob, it's like that kind of you're like, okay, like I guess. I suppose there's worse things to do with your money. Interesting thing about the mausoleum in quotation marks, I'm pretty sure it's not actually a mausoleum. I think it's a church.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong, but I feel like it's actually because I've watched a few, like, where it was filmed type things, and there's a scene in the first Nightmare on Elm Street that takes place in that little road outside that building, and I'm sure the interiors for the church in the Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, were all shot at that place as well. Nice. And there's a lot of I feel like I can't remember what film it is, but there's a couple of Bixby headstones, and I've definitely seen those in films before, so I think it's quite well used in films location. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on Mausoleum. It was fun to watch. It was. So
that'll do it for our conversation on Mausoleum. You've been listening to Cinema Subculture. If you'd like more of this content, make sure you've subscribed on YouTube, like the video, and hit the notification bell.
Thanks for listening. I've been Simon.
I've been Gary.
Susan.
What was that? What was that?
Oh, do you remember the beginning? That's when Julie Lassie's at her mum's grave. She runs off.
Oh, right.
And it's just like Cut that. Okay. Keep it extreme. There you go.